This full moon in Sagittarius on 31 May is requiring us to dig a bit deeper. There's a lot here for us in working with shadow aspects and some shadows coming to light. In this video, I will share all the aspects with you. I will share guidance with the tarot cards and also guidance from the I Ching at this time. Welcome to this video. I'm Michelle Oberholzer, the Oracle of the Central Sun. So this video is about the full moon on the 31st of May. What we will experience with this full moon is a sense of digging deeper. And there's a couple of reasons I say this, which I will get into. This full moon is happening for most of us on the planet on the 31st. It is happening at 9 degrees and 55 minutes of Sagittarius. And where I'm at in South Africa, it's happening at 10:46 a.m. So with a full moon, we always have the moon opposite the sun. And the moon is at almost 10 degrees of Sagittarius. The sun is at almost 10 degrees of Gemini. Now, Sagittarius Gemini is a mutable axis. So there's a lot of very moving, changeable energy here, meaning that at the time of this full moon, we can really pivot and make micro and macro changes in terms of where we need to move to in order to experience this full moon in a smoother way. Now, the moon in Sagittarius is by nature of Sagittarius emotionally adventurous. There is something optimistic that can occur in the sign of Sagittarius. The energy can be very direct in terms of our fire that we bring to the situation, to our experiences. It can be very direct in terms of our communication. There's an honesty there, and with Sagittarius, there's also a sense that we want to bring a sense of independence, even in those places and relationships where we are very interconnected to other people. So with this mutable axis, a lot of change can occur at the time of this full moon. Now, the first reason that I'm saying that we are dealing with more shadow aspects at the time of this full moon is because the moon is actually sitting in Sagittarius, and the moon is very close to Black Moon Lilith. Now, Black Moon Lilith is a mathematical point, but it is that darkest point that the moon travels through in its journey. Now, naturally, Black Moon Lilith is associated with where we are rebellious. It is associated with those shadow aspects that we bring out in how we live our lives. So the fact that the sun is illuminating the moon and the Black Moon Lilith point at the time of this full moon, there's something here where our shadow aspects can really be illuminated. We can become aware of long-standing things that may have been tripping us up, and now we can see and work with and heal these things in a new way. So only some hours after this full moon, the moon will be conjunct with that Black Moon Lilith point. So Black Moon Lilith and the proximity to the actual moon at this time really brings this energy of working with the shadow to this full moon. Now, the second reason I'm saying we are dealing with shadows at the time of this full moon is because of Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is the ruler of this full moon, being the ruler of the sign of Sagittarius. And Jupiter is sitting at almost 24 degrees of Cancer at the time of this full moon. And what is occurring is that from Cancer to Sagittarius, we have an inconjunct, meaning that there's no traditional aspect that creates a conversation. And the symbology of this is, again, that there are things that we are not seeing very clearly, something that might be subconscious that wants to be revealed. And there's a sense of tension because there's no clear line of communication in terms of traditional aspects. We are dealing with more unconscious elements, and in conjunct is also that energy of like constant adjustments, like small adjustments needed to keep on pivoting in the right direction. So this inconjunct of the ruler Jupiter to the moon also further brings out the fact that there may be things we're not seeing very clearly at this point in time, but that want to be revealed by this full moon. And the third reason, which is very similar to what I've just said, is the fact that the ruler of this full moon, Jupiter, is not making any direct aspects to other planets at the time of this full moon. So it's not just the inconjunct from Cancer to Sagittarius, but it is also the fact that there's no other line of aspect communication between Jupiter and other planets. So you can see the feel of this full moon is that there's something under the radar, so my sense of this full moon is that we are going to have to dig a little bit deeper, and to be open for those unconscious things to come to light at this time. Now, the card that I received for the overall energy of this full moon is the Ten of Pentacles. Now, the Ten of Pentacles is very much about legacy, about wealth, about happy families and relationships. You can see the families here, the dogs are here, everyone's together in this beautiful home environment. And yet, I feel that this is what we are striving for, and this is what we want to really open to at the time of this full moon. And yet, Jupiter in Cancer there is so connected to family dynamics, all of our patterns over generations that are connected to family dynamics. And this is where the inconjunct is. So this card is really telling us that yes, we can achieve this happy family, this legacy, this sense of inner and outer wealth in terms of our family dynamics. And we have to work at this time to resolve and let go of those shadow aspects. And then the next part of this full moon is that the moon in Sagittarius is making a trine aspect to Saturn in Aries. Now, the moon is all about our emotions. It's how we connect to our body. It's how we connect to the feminine. And Saturn in Aries is quite a challenging energy to work with. In terms of Saturn likes slowness, likes stability, likes to maybe stop, check things out and start again. Whereas Aries is the complete opposite. Aries wants things to happen fast, wants things to really be able to unfold moment to moment. So there is a sense here that this is a trine between the moon and Saturn. So there is a sense here that something flowing and something supportive wants to happen, but also something in our emotional body might need to connect to that energy of Saturn that puts a boundary and says no to something in order to have a more harmonious flowing outcome. Now, the card that showed up for this is the Seven of Wands. And one of the symbols of the Seven of Wands is, having a boundary. It is you are standing up on the hill. You are being challenged in whatever way you see the world, how you are doing something in your life. You are being an individual. If you look at the person on this card wearing two different shoes, they are eccentric, they are unique, and yet they know that they're on the hill, they're exactly where they need to be. So with the moon and Saturn, there's some kind of boundary here that needs to be established in terms of, I know how far I've come. I know what is unfolding now. And these are the people, situations, experiences that I'm now putting a boundary to, and I'm saying no to those things. And then this boundary can create more flow. And then Saturn's trine to the moon means that the sun is also making a sextile to Saturn at the time of this full moon. So there is a sextile between Gemini and Aries from the sun to Saturn at this time. Now, the sun and Saturn are quite opposite in the sense that the sun is very illuminating. Saturn is very dark, very cold. So there's quite a contrast between the sun wanting to illuminate and move things forward, and Saturn often contracting, wanting to stay safe. So there is also a contrasting element here in terms of this Sun-Saturn sextile. What showed up for this is the Five of Pentacles. And the Five of Pentacles relates to Saturn in terms of Saturn can often, in some aspect of our lives, make us feel like we're not invited, we don't fit in, feeling alone, feeling like an outsider. And this card is really inviting us to try and turn those things around. Those places where we feel like we don't fit in. Is there a way that we can beautifully connect to those energies that might feel so foreign to us, and where we feel such isolation and that we don't fit in? And there's a real opportunity for growth here. The pentacles there are in the window, they are shining. All these people need to do is just to turn around and connect to that beautiful sun energy. So there is a conversation here between the sun and Saturn that can really help us to let go of those places where we feel alone and isolated, and like we don't fit in. So that is a beautiful aspect of this full moon. And then we also have Venus, which is sitting in Cancer with Jupiter at the time of this full moon. And Venus is making a more challenging aspect, a square, to Saturn in Aries. Now, Venus is super comfortable in that sign of Cancer. She connects beautifully to that nurturing energy. the homely energy, the family energy. And there's some kind of tension as well between Venus and Saturn in terms of that loving, family, connected vibe, and that place where you want to be the individual. You feel like you don't fit in. You feel isolated in terms of Aries being that part of us where it is healthy for us to connect to our uniqueness and our individual selves. And what showed up here is the Nine of Pentacles. And this card is very much about that sense of luxury and individuality that Venus can bring into our lives. So this is a real invitation that even though there might be a tension of feeling like you don't fit in, like there's something that sets you apart so much that you can't connect, the invitation is here that yes, you can bring this beautiful connection that this card brings to inner and outer wealth, to nature, to a sense of, yes, I am so unique and I am so individual, and yet I am perfect as I am to fit into the collective and to fit into my family and my tribe. So this really feels lovely in the sense that we can really marry up that sense of individuality and still fitting into the collectives where we need to be a part and where we need to play a role. And then we are now getting quite close to this build up that will be exact in July of Pluto sextile Neptune, Neptune sextiling Uranus, which will create this minor grand trine for us. And this minor grand trine energy is a long-term aspect that we are dealing with. It is going to be exact a couple of times. It's going to be with us until 2028. And as Pluto, Neptune and Uranus are moving, going forward, retrograding, all of these things, they are dancing together in this triangle, you know, for quite a while. And it's a long-term change of us as individuals, but also very, very much the whole planet. Everything about us, you know, because these outer planets work so expansively and also so deeply. This is just a time of immense personal and collective transformation on the planet. What showed up for this aspect at the time of this full moon is the Justice card. And the Justice card is that invitation to find balance, bring harmony, bring groundedness if there is challenging things happening for you or for the people around you. And with the sword, speaking your truth in a kind way. There's a sense of balance being restored, a sense of, even though maybe some challenging shadow aspects can come to light at the time of this full moon, it is a point of balance and harmony that is perfectly divinely timed for all of us to experience at this time. And then the last bit is also related to the shadow work that I mentioned in the beginning, and the shadow aspects that we are dealing with at the time of this full moon. So what we have is we have Mercury at the end of Gemini forming a sextile to Chiron at the end of Aries. Now, Chiron is sitting at 29 degrees of Aries. And this is often called a critical degree or a degree of crisis. And when a planet first moves into 0 degrees of a sign, or when it is sitting at 29 degrees, there's very much an emphasis here. So at the time of between now and in June, when Chiron is moving into the sign of Taurus, there's a real sense of culmination here. There's a real sense of all of these things that we have healed with Chiron in the sign of Aries since 2018 is now coming to a culmination point. So it can feel quite intense. It can feel that maybe whatever we didn't want to see in terms of what we needed to heal can really now, in terms of our minds, our communication related to Mercury, thought patterns, belief systems, all of these things can be revealed at this time. And the card that showed up for this Mercury sextile Chiron is the Devil card. Now, with the Devil card, there's always a sense that we are dealing with the unconscious. We are dealing with more shadow aspects. And we are dealing with places where maybe we feel a sense of constraint, and even a sense of really being boxed in. And connected to things that we would love to escape, but we feel we can't. And the invitation with this card is that, you know, the chains around the people's necks, they are actually very loose. So this card is always an invitation to really connect to doing our shadow work, you know, in a gentle, kind way. To really be open to seeing things that are painful and uncomfortable for us to see, and to really connect to teachers, to healers, to readers who can help you work through these shadow aspects, so that these mind patterns and these thought patterns and these long-standing belief systems can be released. So yes, the energies of this full moon, I feel there is a tremendous amount of energy here in terms of what transformation can happen for us. And at the same time, there's also the sense that we need to be open to transforming the shadow aspects. And in the most basic sense, just the one question that we can ask at the time of this full moon is, what is there right now that would actually help me in my journey, in my experience, that I am preferring, that I'm choosing not to look at? But if I choose to look, it's going to be healing, it's going to be helpful, and it's going to be transformational. So the last thing I want to share is the I Ching reading for this full moon. What I received was hexagram 20, and it actually feels so appropriate for digging deeper. Hexagram 20 in my little book of changes by Peter Crisp, it's called Taking a Long Look. And in the elements of the I Ching by Stephen Karcher, it is called Viewing. Now, it reads, by finding a high place, you gain the perspective you need. So it's really inviting us to find that eagle's eye view, to climb to the top of the hill, the top of the mountain, spiritually, to reach up high, connect to the higher self, and take that view down and open up to the things that are ready to be seen at this time. It says, you like seeing and being seen. The wind blows where it will. You move among the people, observing their ways. A period of contemplation, a place of elevation. So you can see the big picture, looking at your life, what you have to offer the world. The intensity of your focus and the sincerity of your devotion combine to give you a power of seeing that enables you to have a profound effect on the attitudes of people without them even knowing how it happened. Now, in the elements of the I Ching, I wanted to read you this part as well, because this is called viewing, but it reads, let everything come into view. It has a divine meaning. And it says, viewing describes your situation in terms of the need to look without acting in order to find the right perspective. The way to deal with it is to let everything emerge and divine the central meaning from that higher perspective. Look at what you usually don't want to see or think about. This figure describes a particular moment in a ceremony when the purification has been made and the offering is about to be poured out. Have confidence. Examining things will bring you the insight you need. When you have made the preparation, the Spirit will arrive and carry you through. So this is very much at the time of this full moon, so much about how we are viewing the situation. Can we work with the shadows and also find that elevated point where we can look down on the circumstances of our lives? And by finding this balance of being able to go deep and being able to go high, this is where that golden point is going to lie for us. Thank you so much for being here. I love sharing these astrological and tarot insights with you, especially around the new moons and full moons. Please connect to my offerings below. I am offering my monthly Moon Wisdom Lab, which is such a beautiful program to connect to your own intuition, to really connect to a depth of your spiritual journey in a very, very easy, kind and gentle way. And I am offering all kinds of personal sessions. Please look on my website. Please connect with me. Please send me a message if you have any question. Most of the sessions can really be personalized to your own needs. And I wish you a beautiful full moon, and I will see you again next time.